ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode where we almost biffed the intro once again, but we caught it. Welcome, everybody. Excited to have you here. We are going to get things rocking and rolling. We got quite a bit to go over today, so lots of fun stuff. Before we dive right on in, as usual, we want to thank the lovely audience, the folks who have made it here. And of course, early bird gets the worm, right? We do these shout outs early. So get on in. We start on time for the most part, right? So we got 6 legends watching over on Rockfin. Huge shout out to you guys. Thank you for supporting all the content creators. And then over on the YouTube, we are starting to pile on up. We got Lord Racer, Tapered Bodies, what is up? Waterworld, True Earth, Green, Chili Bear, good Sunday indeed. Braxton, Mellow Dome, Gang Gang, Pacu McCleaver, Flat Powerism to the people. Love it. We got MrTribune in the house, Killer Man, Kakuzu, Mario C, Flatman X, QTA, what is up? Boo Ranch, Anson Howard. You know, Anson actually, let me do this as well. Since you are a member of the Tribune VIP, we actually need to go ahead and mod you up. Don't abuse it, or you will lose it. All right. That was one of the many, many perks of the Tribune VIP, one of the many, many ways that you can support the show. And in fact, before we go any further, let's go ahead and do just a little tiny bit of shilling. Just a tad before we go. So we'll go ahead and check this out. We got the VIP, troublingtribune.com/VIP. I'll go ahead and get this in the chat for you here in just a minute. But this is going to be one of our main sources of funding the operation. We have 3 different tiers of membership. They get you all kinds of great perks. You know that saying that I say, there's only one way to know, and that's to go ahead and click on these memberships. You can find out the different perks. They do scale up, and they're pretty dope, if I do say so myself. Not only that, but we also have a store up and running. We have our own Etsy shops, pretty dope. We just launched the Flat Life line. Check this out, making a fashion statement. Let the truth be known in a stylish way. Boom. Also got the black one here. This was my personal favorite. Flat Life. Obviously based off the new standard AE map here. Perfect. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to post that for you guys. Anybody who wants to join up, we do appreciate it. Does take me a minute to find out who has done that, so do bear with me. But all the love and support is appreciated. Speaking of, we just broke through 1,000 subscribers yesterday, so congrats to the tribe, to myself. Not to toot my own horn too much, but we've been working at that for a good bit. Let's go ahead and do for the shop as well. That way, if anybody wants to grab you one of those sick t-shirts, we also got some bath mats, some mouse pads, all kinds of cool stuff for you guys to check out. And that will be my shill for the evening. Appreciate you guys bearing through it. Let's go ahead and get on out of here. Silly display capture. What can you do when you're on a Mac, right? Options are limited, but this thing works like a beast. Thanks again for the much support from the audience. All right. So like I promised, we do have a lot to cover. For those of you who are new to this show, what we typically do is we go over some current events, not too much. We give some fresh takes, hopefully. And we dive right in. Today is going to be the Disingenuous disclosure. As we know, we've had the recent fiasco with the 8-foot-tall aliens spotted in the backyard. My goodness. We actually have the video for that. If for those of you who didn't catch the Mellow Dome early light, that is another great addition to the week. that I highly recommend. We do that 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. But let's go ahead and grab this thing. And we're doing commentary, fair use, right? So let's let's mute that commercial. So let's not get a copyright strike, YouTube. Let's play it cool, right? We've been getting a lot of strikes lately for seemingly no reason. So let's go ahead and nip that in the bud, right? We got permission for this stuff. Okay. Here we go. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the scene going on.
It is the police call everybody will be talking about. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Denise Valdez.
I'm Brian Loftus. A family says something crashed into their backyard, prompting them to call 911, saying they saw creatures walking around.
Our 8 News Now investigators digging into this for weeks now. And tonight, our David Sharns with the video you will only see on 8 News Now. David?
Psych. Just kidding.
President, sources telling the 8 News Now investigators that several agencies believe something landed or crashed. Whether it was non-humans or not, it certainly scared the people living on this property. Now, before we show you that video, listen to their call for help.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
It's cool as a cucumber, by the way. This man's a champion. He's just like, yeah, there's some stuff in my backyard here. It's 8 foot tall, but yeah, it's over here looking at us. If you guys want to mosey on over here with your standard response time, that would be fantastic.
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually we're terrified of it.
So there's 2 people or 2 subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot.
So like one of the first questions that comes up is like, where's all the footage of this stuff, right? Best we got is like some body cam from an officer. I'm sure they'll show that here in a minute. But we don't have no footage of the 8-foot creatures. I don't know about you, but like the excuse for why there's not film of it is that these guys weren't worried about that. They were just fearing for their life, making their call to the 911, and I could definitely respect that. But as someone who, you know, makes a living off of knowing, you know, making the best judgment on what people are thinking, then I would say that's sales experience, by the way, for those who are unfamiliar. This guy has there's like almost no fear in this guy's voice. There's no rushed sentences. There's no shakiness. I would say that if this guy is afraid, he's playing it very, very well.
9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes.
Okay.
Like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes and they're not human. They're 100%. They're not human.
100%. All right. Where else here? Let me see if I can get some of this footage here.
911 reporting 2 large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meet someone calls
I'm so nervous right now.
the 8
Other one beside there's a
sky.
911
There we
number.
go.
This something flashing.
Check that out. This thing right here. Something flashing in the sky. Now, for those of you who follow this channel, you know, we've covered stuff like this. This is most likely, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I would say that this has the hallmarkers of the government nerd toys. You know, they're moving in free space orbs that they have. And they're doing us a courtesy here, giving it that nice blue tint to signal the Project Bluebeam. Only talking about alien disclosures for the last 60, 70 years now. No big whoop, right? Who hasn't expected this or seen this or planned at some scenario in their head of like, what would I do if aliens came, you know, when they were younger before they found out the truth, right? Lots to dig in here. I don't want to waste any more time on this nonsense video. In my opinion, I mean, it is, granted, the call may be real. There might have been actually something like there, and supposedly they like ran off before. Like nothing was captured. We don't have anything more than this to go on. But I mean, this has all the hallmarks of good propaganda, right? Except it's got bad acting. It's got the symbolism. It has very known technology passing off as unknown to the general masses. Yeah. I'm not a big UFO, big into disclosure believer. So I don't want to cover too much of this right up front. We'll go ahead and dive right on in to some other stuff, get into the meat of the matter. As I was saying, for those of you who don't know, the way we typically do this show is we do the first half on both platforms, YouTube and Rockfin, and there is a link in the description for those of you who are joining us on the YouTube. We do appreciate the support over on Rockfin. Now, while the show is going, it's of course free. You can go ahead and be a part of the chat, chop it up with the cool kids, but when the show is over, we do flip it over to the premium only, and that way, that second half is something special for those who actually do support the content creators with the paid membership. Now, in my opinion, the best way to go is they have a $15 membership. It supports not only myself, but a lot of content creators out there, such as Jaronism, Karen B. We have Mark Sargent, Melodome, Flatman X. I mean, I could probably sit here for the next hour naming content creators on there that have some good information that you can dig through. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Just you watching the videos with that membership goes ahead and shows your support and helps us out. But yeah, we do the whole second half on the back half with Rockfin, and during that side, we actually do drop a link, a Zoom link for people to join up, talk on the panel, give their thoughts, opinions, their views. Maybe just want to talk to MrTribune, who knows. But we have a lot of fun with it either way. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get rid of that. And let's pull up. This is pretty funny. Where did it go? Speaking of the... yeah, let's pause that. We're not ready for that. This next video comes to us from TikTok, and I really appreciated this one. I actually have 3 cats myself, so this is a cat video, forewarning. It's very, very short, but it reminds me of when you drop some truth, and when you drop some unknown stuff on some friends, and at first they're like, man, they give you the 2 responses, right? It's like, man, that's absolutely crazy. Or it's like, oh wow, man, I gotta look into that. And you pretty much get to watch people become more knowledgeable as time goes on, as their interest grows in these subjects. But so here is a nice little video. Oh yeah, did not. All right. Guys, gotta get a quick look at the back end there, and here we are. Let's get it. Super funny. All right, that's enough of that. Yeah, so whole joke being part of the light for a long time versus just discovering its magnificence. Speaking of good jokes, here we have a nice joke from sciencealert.com. An absolutely wild hypothesis suggests that irritable bowel syndrome could be a form of gravity intolerance. You can't make this up. This is absolutely hilarious. An invisible and unrelenting force acting on your bowels right now. It may be causing some people serious irritation. So they think that this is that IBS probably is due to gravity, which is a fictitious pseudo force, the bending and warping of space-time, which has never been demonstrated, isolated, proven. But they want to say that it causes IBS, which is probably just caused from poor diet. Let's just be real. In this paper, published in the American Journal of Gastroenterology, right? This is a scientific paper, I'm guessing. RU's IBS is triggered by the body's inability to manage gravity. You know, the gravity that we supposedly, according to their model, have been living in generation after generation for several thousand years at least, for the narrative. And they're going to say that we haven't evolved to deal with gravity. What is with all the contradictions? They cannot keep the story straight. If our body's usual management of gravity fails for whatever reason, our diaphragm can slip down and compress our intestines, possibly causing motility issues and bacterial growth. My goodness. Well, this is a gross article, so we're not going to keep digging into that, but I just thought it was really funny that they're trying to contribute this to a pseudo force. There are tons of stories, by the way, of people supposedly curing IBS. Again, opinion station. These are things that I've found, things that I've looked at. Not necessarily true, so don't slap me with the misinformation badge. Again, YouTube. But we will say that IBS, there have been stories of people claiming to cure it by switching up their diet, going to forms of like a healthy all-meat diet, actually, specifically. But I imagine you can cure it with any form of really clean diet. So, anyway, I don't think it has anything to do with this crap. This is just another way to keep us running around in circles, not really fixing any of the actual problems that face us today. So, absolutely. Please no Brenda tonight. I haven't even seen him in the chat, so we might be in luck, right? If enough of my audience groans, of course, I will have no choice. My hands will be tied, and I will be forced to limit Brenda's free speech ability on this platform. And it would be very unfortunate because I don't want to do that. But yeah, what is it that the left says? Freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. So, I mean, anyway, I'll let you guys vote on that. In any case, what is it that I was just talking about? Oh, yeah. I did want to get just a few more things. Usually more people have dived on into the YouTube by now. And, of course, we have, folks. Be sure to smash that like button. It really helps the algorithms out, helps get this show out to some new people. That way we can keep on growing, expanding. We got Run Boston Bear, much love. Duke Nukem, BS is causing BS. Well said. We got Mr. DeShill, Helium. Helium IBS. You know, with that whole thing, if that were true, right, then the astronauts would certainly have problems with IBS all the time up in space, dealing with the anti-gravity all the time when our systems clearly would work on this downward vector, pulling everything down. Mel Lowe, PMS is Coriolis effect. I don't even know how to respond to that. Okay. Al Gore rhythm. Nice. I don't think he has very much rhythm, to my understanding. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's very many dancing videos out there of him, but all right. Christy Lee Dolls saved that video. Nice. Rethink.inc. Huge shout out, guys. QTA. Let's not get stuck in this. We do have lots that we have to cover, and we're already halfway through the first half. Guys, be sure to click that link so that you don't miss out on all the fantastic stuff that is coming our way. All right. Close these out. I don't know why I still have these open. All right, where are we at? Okay, this stuff moving right along, shifting gears just a bit. I like to bring up stuff like this because as a true earther, as someone who questions the mainstream narrative, who does not believe in the lies of Nazi space programs, not NASA. Sorry, you're being slipped. Um, as someone who doesn't just trust that at face value, spoon fed to me, and as someone who questions all these things, I find myself often challenged by people who believe that science cannot be wrong, has never been wrong, um, and even if it ever was wrong, it just simply changes. So therefore, it's not wrong by default. So get ready for that, by the way, when they do accept that the Earth is not curving, which is sure to come eventually. We have an article that challenges what we know about the American crocodile specifically. So it's an animal article, but we'll just cover this super brief, change gears just a tad. So here we go. All right. Facultative parthenogenesis. I'm butchering it. Parthenogenesis recorded in crocodilians for the first time ever. For those of you who don't know, that is asexual reproduction. No partner, no action, right? Just eggs, pregnancy, babies. What the heck is going on here? Okay, so using whole genome sequencing and bioinformatic analysis, scientists provide the first evidence of facultative parthenogenesis in a crocodilian. The American crocodile, specifically a large and wide-ranging apex. Who cares? We know that. Let's move on. Reproducing to generate offspring without genetic contributions of males. So females are obviously the ones who can do that. That's because you need ovaries and a whole reproductive set in order to, of course, carry children. That does not change. Sorry, trans men or trans women. Forget how it goes. It's all so confusing these days. This reproductive mode has been documented across multiple vertebrate lineages, including both avian and non-avian reptiles, snakes and lizards, fishes, sharks, sawfish. All right, so yeah, we see this with reptiles. My question is why would we not expect to see it with the crocodile, right? Maybe we just haven't been paying attention. Who the heck knows? Things like this, though, go by all the time under the radar. And we just had an article last week where a kid discovered there was a whole economy going on between ants, bees, and this tree, which the bees would do something to this tree to make it produce the sap in a certain way, or this, I can't even remember what it was, these little things that the ants would then take and cultivate, and then the bees would then do something with that. It's just crazy how it all worked out. And a 10-year-old discovered it, supposedly. So 7 appeared. Okay, so and yes, they are fertile eggs. 14 were laid, 7 of them fertile. Yeah. And for those of you who may be like staunch evolutionists, right? Who are like, man, this is like proof that we can have life without without having the extra stuff, right? With the male and the female, we could just do it with the one. The problem is that you still need the one, right? It's not, I wouldn't consider it proof of evolution at all. Just proof that life finds a way, to quote Jurassic Park. All right, let's go ahead and get on with that. We'll get rid of you. And we'll get into this one following the retracted science, right? It's like, where's your peer review paper? All right, would it really mean anything if we had a peer review paper? Ultimately, humans are fallible and things do slip through the cracks. So here is an article from retractionwatch.com. A now retracted study published in the first place and got a $3.8 million grant. Hilarious. Okay, scientific paper inspired in international headlines with its bold claim that a combination of brain scans and machine learning algorithms could identify people at risk for suicide with 91% accuracy. Wow, that would have been scary, right? They would have just been going around claiming that we know who's all suicidal, and then it just so happens to be all the revolutionaries and truthers, all the political dissidents. Anyway, promise of the work garnered lead author Marcel Adams, blah, 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 Carnegie Mellon University of Pittsburgh, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, just a lot of crap that I don't want to read. For those of you who don't know, you get my raw reaction with these articles. I have not read them beforehand, so sometimes you'll click into it, and it'll just be some BS, right? And we'll have to just kind of dig through it and take of value what we can. Okay, so a promise of the work garnered a $3.8 million grant from the National Institute of Mental Health to conduct a larger follow-up study, but the 2017 paper attracted immediate and sustained scrutiny, and then it was eventually retracted. But by then, it was already cited 134 times in scientific literature, because you know how they do it. It's like, oh, well, it's here in a scientific paper, therefore we can treat it as gospel. According to Clairvoyant's Web of Science, a large amount for a young paper, and received so much attention online that the article ranks in the top 5% of all research tracked by Altmetric, a data company focused on scientific publishing. All right, so hold on one second. I'll read this last article because this last little paragraph, because this deals with the people who actually peer reviewed it. Right, this is the whole process. Peer review is hailed as the savior of mankind's logic and the scientific method. We got to have our good old boys looking over each other's shoulder, giving them the old thumbs up. All this could have been avoided if the journal had followed the advice of its own reviewers. According to the records of peer review process obtained by Retraction Watch, the experts who scrutinized the submitted manuscript for the journal before it was published identified many issues in the initial draft and the revised resubmission. One asked for the author to replicate the work in a new group study, and overall they recommended rejecting the manuscript. Was this like one person? Maybe I'm just confused on how this whole like publishing thing works when you are doing a scientific review, right? I thought that when they publish a paper, it's supposed to have already gone through the peer review and they're supposed to have given it the thumbs up. Here, they're covering their ass, saying that, we gave it the clear thumbs down, but it got published anyway. Makes no freaking sense. Somebody want to enlighten me on that in the second half. All right, records now show that the journal's chief editor initially followed the reviewer's advice, but then accepted the paper with some changes to its text, but no added data. And the documents don't explain the editor's decision to publish. The journal's spokesperson declined to discuss. Whatever. Everybody knew this paper was garbage, and they went ahead and sent it out into the world. Look at them, this damage control. It's so funny. What was your excuse when the people published the article about studying a whole bunch of dog genitalia and figuring out how that would affect, like how to determine if they were gay or not? It was a complete joke article for those who don't know. I can't remember which group did it, but you can go and look it up. It's the peer review process that we have now is absolutely horrible. And if it goes along with the mainstream narrative, then it gets along. And if it doesn't, it gets out. So I don't think I'm saying anything new or groundbreaking here, earth-shattering. But this is more for the normies who may stumble across this channel. Super funny. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into one of the main things that I wanted to cover. And I'll go ahead and give a huge shout out to Museum of Tarot. I will...
My friend here asked about...
Let me pause that because we are not ready. So hand in hand with the Disclosure Project, the alien disclosure from the governments, we also have like the idea of the crop circles. And I know we've seen these like very intricate crop circles out there, like depicting cymatic patterns and magnetic frequencies and all kinds of magnetic fields, cymatic frequencies, all kinds of crazy stuff. That was something that never really sat right with me. It was like, man, it seems too out there, too propagandized. Call me just a critic, right? What are you going to do? So Museum of Tarot, they do a lot of really good research, and they actually pointed me in a direction that I was actually unaware of, and I wanted to share it with you all. So here we go. This is on crop circles. Enjoy.
My friend here asked about crop circles, and there are real ones and there are fake ones. There's historical precedence that the real ones go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, and you'll see this reflected in place names in Great Britain like Golden Ball Hill. The real designs are usually much simpler and are usually just plain circles, and they can't be attributed to things like fungus, like necrotic ring spot. And there is a lot of scientific evidence that things like fairy lights and will-o'-the-wisp lights, earthquake lights, can show up around geomagnetically charged areas like fault lines and such. These also tend to be the areas that are the spiritual areas that people went to do ritual work, which I've talked about in my previous videos. But despite this correlation, it's still not clear what actually causes the real crop circles. And now let's talk about the fuckery. There's very good evidence that intelligence agencies have seized upon this folklore to mess with you. This is an excerpt from an excellent documentary by Richard D. Hall from richplanet.net, where he outs some of the crop circle makers as MI5 and U.S. Air Force assets.
So let's just take a close look at John Lundberg, who is the alleged ringleader of the organization creating the complex crop circles throughout the 1990s and up to the present day. After leaving school, Lundberg studied fine art at Middlesex University. Then, in 1992, did a master's in sculpture at the Slade School of Fine Art in central London. At this time, literally next door to his art school, was the anonymous headquarters of MI5. It housed the Director General and some of the most top secret and controversial of MI5's active service units. Lundberg's final year at university was spent studying next door to this secret office. Robert Hulse and David Caton allege that advertisements for jobs in MI5 have been placed on the Circle Makers website. These adverts no longer exist, but there are other references to MI5. After logging onto the site, if one clicks View Source to view the HTML code behind the website, we can view the keywords which the person designing the site has assigned to the site. The second keyword is MI5. Other keywords include British Security Service, spy, intelligence, CIA, espionage, and terrorism. Further references to MI5 can be found in the text itself. Here, Lundberg teases Colin Andrews about funding, and I quote, "Well, it looks like veteran crop circle researcher Colin Andrews might be forced to get a real job. He's posted an urgent appeal for funds on his website. If all else fails, Colin could join MI5 PSYOPs department and retrain as a crop circle maker." Another fact I found peculiar about the website is its hosting arrangement. The Circle Makers site is hosted in Pittsburgh in the United States. It's fairly unusual for British organizations to host their sites in America. I checked the Whois register, which is the Internet Register of Domain Names, to see if there was any useful information. As expected, Lundberg is listed as the owner. The administrative contact, however, is listed as John Kurzak from Michigan, along with his phone number. I telephoned the number, but that number is no longer assigned to a John Kurzak. He has presumably moved on from the Michigan address. I searched for John Kurzak in the American White Pages. Kurzak is quite a rare name, and I found there was only one John Kurzak in the whole of America. Kurzak is a 61-year-old colonel in the United States Air Force. The U.S. Air Force connection is very intriguing. In 1995, when the Circle Makers site was set up, Kurzak took a military commission, tying him more closely to the Air Force. Perhaps it's a big leap of assumption, but in the town where Kurzak works, there is another U.S. air base called Lackland Air Base, which just so happens to be the headquarters of the U.S. Air Force Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Agency. At this base, there are 1,000 technical personnel involved in a range of activities. It's a big leap, but perhaps this is where the crop circles are designed. I decided to check out Lundberg's residence, which is an apartment in London. I decided to run some land registry checks on the apartment, and I came up with some bizarre findings. The block where Lundberg lives, built in 1995, contains about 40 apartments. Lundberg's apartment does not appear on the land registry database. I purchased a copy of the deeds, and the land it is registered under is not the land on which it was built. There is no record of it ever being bought or sold since it was built. I telephoned the land registry to ask why this was. They said that it must never have been sold since it was built. There are 3 more properties neighbouring Lundberg's that have this exact same anomaly. I telephoned the housing association who were listed as the owner of these properties and asked if they had any apartments to rent in that block. They said they have 4 and said that the tenants in those properties were, quote, a different type of tenant to our normal tenant. Could it be I have uncovered 3 more people who are associated with the same organisation? In carrying out this work, I believe I now have the identities of 7 MI5 agents operating in various professions, predominantly the media.
Now, isn't that interesting? But what's even more interesting is what this Lundberg guy did after creating all these crop circles. He helped produce the recent popular UFO documentary called Mirage Men that exposed the world to the lies of Richard Doty. If you'd like to get the lowdown on the realities of crop circles, I'd urge you to go check out Crop Circles, The Hidden Truth, Parts 1 and 2 from richplanet.net. His name is Richard D. Hall, and he's one of the best researchers.
Alrighty, we can go ahead and pause it there. A little unflattering face for you, my bad, my friend. But yeah, Rich B. Hall from richplanet.tv. Very, very good source. We may do a watch party for that here sometime in the near future, because that is a very interesting documentary to go through, digging through the back coding of this website, circlemaker.com. Just absolutely crazy. Let's go ahead and see what the chat is thinking. Got quite a bit of activity over in the Rockfin now. What is up? Let Brenda speak. It shows her ignorance to all the new watchers that may be on the fence. It's actually true, right? I mean, there's very clearly logical fallacies going on repeatedly with that. So, what are you going to do? But yeah, we are getting close to that time to be switching over, but we are not quite there just yet. So I think that we have a choice, right? We'll leave it up to the audience to decide. We have 3 different things that we can cover, and they're all really, really exciting. The first one is from futurism.com, talking about life on the moon. Wow. Stunningly false. All right. And then we have Brighter Side News. First ever experiment proves, right? That is the word, proves that light travels in both space and time. Wow. Absolutely amazing. And then we have the Bob Lazar brothel story. So, yeah, Bob Lazar, the guy, other guy who was doing the UFOs and has the book, he's actually was caught doing a brothel type situation. And we could talk about that as well. So lots of great things to cover. Let's go ahead and just take a moment, audience. Let's see, what would you prefer? We again have life on the BS life on the moon. We have an experiment that proves light travels not instantaneously. And then we have another fascinating story about Bob Lazar running a secret brothel and then having the judges plea everything down. Nothing weird about that. Use the wrong terminology, but you all know what I mean. So let us see what you guys decide. We'll give you just a few minutes. And we'll do a shout out while we are doing it. We have Christy Lee Dahl's Life on the Moon. Boo Ranch. Nominal, much love, brother. We'll see you next time. Flatman X, Rihanna Lynn, Rethink, Warnings, Skydome, Crush, Bandicoot, Green Chili Bear wants Bob Lazar. So we got one for Life on the Moon, one for Bob Lazar. Lazar. Okay, I got 4 for Lazar, 2 for the moon. I'll tell you what, if you guys join me for the second half, right, then we will make sure to cover the other one that you guys really want us to talk about while we open up the lines and get your guys' opinion. I personally think that the Bob Lazar story is a much funner thing to cover. And hopefully it doesn't get us struck on YouTube, right? We're just going over basic stuff, right? This is public knowledge. Life on the Moon sounds interesting as well. It does. I was just watching Mindshock's show on Lazar. Nice. Yeah, lots of... I got to check that out. I haven't seen that one yet. Pour the tea. All right, let's get it. Enough of these games. We're going to talk about the Bob Lazar brothel. Thank you all for participating in that, by the way. We're going to be doing that a lot more often. And, yeah, we'll cover Life on the Moon on the other side. So just make sure you do click that link. Join us over on the Rockfin so you don't miss any of this juicy content. Before we continue, I will go ahead and shout out our good friend Setneg over on the Rockfin with the very generous donation. Thank you so much for supporting the show. The last show was a dumpster fire on part of the guests, but still fire, brother. We appreciate that. Guys, definitely, if you haven't had the chance to check that out, that was a awesome show where we got to completely school this uneducated drunk Glober with Dave. All right. Let's go ahead and get right on into this. All right. The brothel. So this comes from otherhand.org. This is a Las Vegas Review Journal, 8/21/1990. So this is actually an old story. They kind of wanted this to go under the rug. But we're going to go ahead and dig it back up since they want to go ahead and give them so much public light. And everybody's still really upset about the Epstein thing, right? So it's like, and this is pretty similar. Okay. The story was Judge gives UFO witness Lazar probation on a pandering charge by Warren Bates. Self-proclaimed scientist and UFO witness said he didn't want a close encounter with the Nevada's prison system, and the district court judge on Monday obliged his request rather than sending Robert to prison. District Judge Jack sentenced him to probation on a pandering charge. It doesn't sound too bad, right? So pandering, right? What is pandering even? I actually can't remember the exact definition right off the top of my head, but primary source in the award-winning Class TV Channel 8 documentary, UFOs, The Best Evidence. Lazar was ordered to perform 150 hours of community service, stay away from brothels, and undergo psychotherapy because of a guilty plea in June. Okay, so he pled guilty. What would brothels have to do with it? We'll see. Just 150 hours of community service, by the way. What the heck is that? For what? Wait till you find out what this guy did. This is crazy. Okay. Lazar had admitted that he recruited a locally known prostitute and encouraged her to solicit customers at a Tamara's Street apartment complex as the focal point for much of reporter George Knapp's documentaries. Lazar claimed that the U.S. government was testing alien spacecraft on the Nevada test site, 65 miles northwest of Las Vegas. However, Knapp's report also acknowledged that Lazar had a questionable past that included some work at a local brothel. During his plea, Lazar at first would only admit to helping modernize the business of prostitute Tony Bullock by doing some computer work. But prosecutor John Lucan said there was nothing on the computer records pertaining to the business of prostitution that Lazar set up the operation the week he rented the apartment. Although Lazar was trying to recruit other women from legal brothels for the local operation, this action was not the type of involvement when one thinks of a pimp. Lucan said there was no drugs, nor was there any indication of force or coercion. So they're just trying to basically, like, sweep this under the rug. Like, yeah, he was doing the recruiting and setting this up for us, but you know, he was a good guy, right? There's no drugs, none of this other stuff that you didn't find, right? Who knows? State parole and probation authorities recommended a 4-month prison evaluation, and the charge carries a maximum 6-year prison sentence. Now, what was interesting about this is that Lazar they actually had set up a camera in the brothels that he was recruiting to, and they had got some film, supposedly, when you actually go into the police reports. But anyway, it had a devastating effect. Yes, he has finances, blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, Smith said his client was targeted because of his high profile and conversational statements about what he allegedly observed as an employee on the secret test site projects. They're just coming after him because he's telling the truth about the UFOs. Possibly. Probably not. Lehman said he was indeed surprised that the case wasn't negotiated down to a gross misdemeanor. So it should have been even less. They think it should have been even less. Man. Prosecutor also referred to the court's efforts by members of the press to minimize Lazar's crime. All right. So that is the article there for Bob Lazar, him recruiting, being a pimp and all that. And they carefully danced around in this article, danced around his the filming part. But hey, what can you do, right? They're not going to spill it all in one place. We're going to have to do some digging. And this show is a really great place for people to scratch the surface, get some interest, and then really start doing their own research. I don't want to do all the heavy lifting for you, just to be honest. I'll do some of it, but I won't do all of it. I actually hope that people will go out there and do even more heavy lifting and start just bringing out all kinds of crazy stuff to light for us to talk about. But hey, that's just me. Appreciate everybody tuning in. That's been a part of the YouTube side. We are going to go ahead and play an outro for you and join everybody who clicks the link. Everybody who's over on the Rockfin side. We will see you in just a moment. I will, of course, need to pull up what the heck are we going to play out with. As far as, you know what? I think that we are going to do. I think we're going to do one that we don't normally do. All right. Hopefully we don't get struck. All right. Folks, I will see you in just a bit. We're going to take a short break, play an outro, and I will see you all over on the Rockfin side. Link in the description.